are watching this video, you have been asked to be a part of LPAC, which is Language Proficiency Assessment Committee here at High Point Academy. So I put together a little video. We're going to see how this goes to help train you to be ready for LPAC. Just a few things about LPAC. All districts are required to establish an LPAC committee. All information must be documented, so any norms, training certificates, the number of members, meetings, decisions, those type of things need to be documented. So here's the purpose of a LPAC committee. They review the progress of English language learners, which are ELLs. They participate in bilingual or English as a second language program with parent approval, or a student who does not participate due to parent denial. So we are the ones who review the progress of these students, and we are the advocates for this student. So just kind of a couple things to let you know about LPAC. We have to first establish what we need at the school. Are we going to have a bilingual or an English as a second language class? So this is how you know if you need a bilingual or English as a second language. If the school district has an enrollment of 20 or more ELLs of the same language classification in the same grade level, we need to provide a bilingual classroom for them. So if we have less than 20, we do not need to have a bilingual classroom, but we need to provide ESL services. So here at High Point Academy, we offer ESL services. We don't have a need for bilingual services. I did just go back and look at my segment right before this, and I said a lot of ums. So we're going to try to continue without using that many ums. So let's see how I do. The goal of English as a second language ESL program. Here's our objective. We want to enable ELLs to become competent in listening, speaking, reading, and writing of the English language. We want them to acquire essential knowledge and skills of academic language as they would hear in math, science, social studies, and language arts. And we achieve these objectives by having the teachers look at the English language proficiency standards. Those are called the ELPs. So when they look at the ELPs, they can see where a student is with their listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And from there, they can kind of get some steps to see how to get them further in those steps. So when we have bilingual and English as a second language program, these are some things that we have to have in the program. It has to be an integral part of the total school program. It's state-adopted text, supplementary materials, instructional approaches designed to meet the needs of each ELL. So those are the things that we've got to make sure are offered in our ESL program. So here is who needs to be on an LPAC committee. So in order to be on an LPAC here for ESL services, we need to have one or more professional personnel. We need to have, and that could be a teacher, that could be a counselor, so someone who is a professional personnel. It's kind of broad, so we can kind of see who is someone that we kind of see in a professional manner that should be in our LPAC. 2, we need to have a campus administrator, so that's someone that needs to be on it. 3, we need an LPAC chairman, that's me. And then we also need a parent of an ELL participating in the school program here at High Point, and they cannot be paid staff. So we would need to get a parent to be a part of the LPAC committee. So we just need to have those 4 people. So an LPAC should have 4 members to it. Okay, so committee responsibilities. So you as a committee member, here are your responsibilities. You have to act on behalf of the school district, so it can't just be me making those decisions. The whole purpose of a committee is I bring things to you, things that we need to go over in regards to ELLs, and we need to talk about them as a committee to make decisions. So, act on behalf of the school district, knows the laws, maintains confidentiality, and this one is underlined. So that means you have to make sure what we talk about in an LPAC setting stays within the LPAC setting. So you know that whole what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, what happens in LPAC stays in LPAC. Receive adequate training. That's what I'm doing here in this video. And meet when deemed necessary. So if I contact everyone and say, hey, we need to have an LPAC meeting, that would be a necessary measure because we are looking at a student and trying to make a decision. So let's get into a little bit more detail of what a committee member's responsibility is. We are to review and discuss all student data and information. We are to meet upon the student's initial enrollment within the first 20 school days, meet in the spring to determine appropriate assessments immediately prior to state assessment administration to determine applicable linguistic accommodations. We should meet at the end of the year for annual review and for the following year's placement. We should also be looking at, along with that, we are looking, does a student need to be exited? Do we think that they have grown enough? And we're going to get into a little bit more of how a student is exited from getting services as an ELL student. Meet as needed to discuss student progress. An example of that is if we have a ELL learner who is failing, we might need to come together and kind of discuss what needs to be done for that student. So some additional responsibilities include to indicate each student's English proficiency level, indicate each student's academic level, indicate initial instructional methodologies, that's a big word, and or interventions of each program. So those kind of things, we have to make sure we're informing parents. We cannot go forward unless we have some parent approval on those things. Something else, to ensure student participation in other programs or services offered throughout the district, kind of getting them involved in some other things. That helps them to kind of use their English a little bit more and practicing with some other students. Classify students as LEP or non-LEP. So we look at if they are proficient or if they are not proficient. So again, part of if they need to be a part of our program. And also we determine if the student has met the necessary requirements to be considered for reclassification as a non-LEP or no longer participate in bilingual or English as a second language program. Okay, so identifying ELLs. It always starts off with the home language survey. So on the home language survey, the parent will say what is the #1 language spoken in home and what is the #1 language spoken by the child. So when we do the home language survey, that's kind of our initial flag to see if someone would qualify or not. And if they have come from another school, they should have already gone through the process of getting their initial entry assessment. If they usually are a kinder or a student that has never been in a setting, like a school setting, like a home, someone who was, why can't I think of the word? Homeschooled. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. So if someone was homeschooled, they might not have had the services already started for them. So we may have a 4th grader come in, but they've never gone through the initial assessment. But what we tend to see is those kinders coming in, a lot of them, this is going to be their initial entry in to being an ELL at our school. Okay, so we also have to consider the student's knowledge of English and academic content, which is taken into account and mandated by law. So this is something we have to do. The committee will recommend participation in bilingual or ESL. We look at the test results, we look at the initial testing and how the student did, and we kind of determine if they should be a part of the program. At the end of the year, the committee reviews every child. So we kind of go through every child and we kind of go into three different areas. We have ELL, that means they're being served in a bilingual or ESL program. ELL in a general education program. That is typically what we will see at High Point. They'll kind of be in a general education program and they're receiving ESL services from one of their teachers. Or we have students that are exited during the previous 2 years that are being monitored. So if we have students that are exited, we still have to monitor them for about 2 years to see if that was a good decision, how is the student doing, those type of things. So here are some things that the LPAC reviews on each student. We look at their oral language proficiency test data. We kind of see how they did when they did their testing. We also look at the student's academic proficiency level. We look at their grades. We look at classroom tests. So we kind of, that's one of the things we need to have teachers kind of keeping track of those things. We look at any English or Spanish reading state assessment. So English state assessment may be a STAR test and how they did on those kind of tests. English writing state assessment, so that's other data that we would look at. Okay, so a couple of additional things. Once a pre-kindergarten student or a kindergartner has been classified as an ELL in the English as a second language program, they cannot be exited during their pre-kindergarten or kindergarten year. So they cannot be exited that quickly from the program. Once the LPAC classifies a student as a non-LEP, parents must be notified that the student has met the state criteria for exit. So we can tell parents at that time, but we have to make sure we notify them. The LPAC must monitor the exited student's progress for 2 years. It just tells me to say it again. I know I already said it, but I said it twice. Okay, so in summary, LPAC members must know the laws concerning English language learners. They must maintain confidentiality, be an advocate for the English language learner, contribute to the meeting so that the members can make the best decisions for the students. So there you go. Hopefully I've given you enough information. And I hope you've answered my questions as we've gone along in this video. So thank you for participating and for being a part of these children's lives to help them become proficient in English and be successful in school. Thanks.